Welcome to this tutorial. The tutorial is about the small logic controllers hardwares. What is small logic controller? Small logic controller is just one type of PLC, and PLC just simply means programmable logic controller. So SLC is one model of PLC that is majorly used in industries to automate processes. It is just a controller with input and output modules. So input modules include input modules is where the sensors are interfaced. Or the output modules is where the actuators, for example motors, are also interfaced. So PLC simply get the signals from the sensors via the input modules. It processes those signals, then it generates the output signals to the actuators. So it is majorly used in industry for automations. So for this case, I restrict myself to that type of that model we call SLC, small logic controller. So I'll talk about it, the hardware's part. I will not go to the software part, that is the programming. And the first hardware that I'll talk about is SLC LAC, small logic controller LAC. This is a platform where the input modules and the output modules, output modules, the processor itself, and the power supplies are inserted. So it is simply a platform where you place those modules and the processors. So under that we have several types of LACs. We have the first one, which is 1746 A4. A4 means it has 4 slots, meaning it can accommodate the processor and other 3 modules, whether they are input modules or output modules. The second one is the 1746 A7, meaning it has 7 slots, 1 processor, 6 modules. The next one is A10, 1746 A10, 10 slots, so it can accommodate up to 10 the modules. The next one is 1746 A13, meaning 13 modules. So in this case, if it is 13, it has the first slot obviously is of the processor, that is the PLC itself. The other 12 is for the other modules, both the input and output modules. So that is the LAC. The second hardware that I'll talk about is the SLC power supply, small logic controller power supplies. Power supply simply is the one that supply power to both the processor and the modules. So we have, and they come in various, under the SLC they come under various, they have various capacity. So the first one is 1746 P1, 1746 P2, 1746 P3, like that. The third hardware is now the main thing, the brain of everything. That is the SLC processor. SLC processor. This is as the name suggests, is the processor. This is the one that does everything. It's simply the brain of that control system, whereby it receives the signals from the sensor via the input modules. It processes those signals based on the code that has been uploaded to it, and then it generates the output signal to the actuators, e.g. motors. So this is where you program it using the ladder logic language. You program it via using ladder logic. So under this processor, at the SLC series, we have different model. The earlier, the first one was SLC 5/01. The second one was the SLC 5/02, 5/03, 5/04, and the most current right now is the SLC 5/05. This is the most updated model of SLC. It has more capability as compared to SLC 5/04. So this is the most modern. It has capabilities. It can accommodate various type of module, even the other modules that we call the specialty modules, like the Modbus modules, analog modules, and other data communication modules. So this has more capabilities as compared to the earlier version of the processor. So the next modules that I'll talk about of the next hardware of SLC processor is the input and output modules. Input and output modules. As I had said earlier, input modules are the one that interface the processor with the sensors. The sensors are a few devices. They are attached to the field. So they send signal to the PLC or to the SLC via these input modules. And under the input modules, we have two types. You have the analog modules and the digital modules. Analog modules just collect analog data, and then it convert them into digital form. So it is simply like an analog and digital converter. So they monitor things like pressure, level, and temperatures. Digital modules simply they take digital data to the processor. They are attached to those sensors that monitor digital data. Like, for example, what an example of a digital data? Like, let's talk about like proximity sensors. Proximity sensors sense the presence or absence of an object. So if there is an object, that is a 1 to the processor. If there is no object, that is a 0. So 1, 0. Object 1, absence of object 0. So that is an example of, so that sensor, proximity sensor, will be interfaced to the SLC, to the processor, via a digital module, because it's simply giving the PLC the digital form of a data. So we have both input, we have both analog input modules and analog output modules. You have both the digital input module and digital output modules. And I think that's the end of my lecture. I will talk more about SLC processor in the next tutorial. Thank you very much. Santi.